Oh, I know what I have to do. One more thing. Go ahead and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
All right, yeah, we could at least do that. Why don't we rise to salute the flag? I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Okay.
Is that Country Pond Road that they've outlined there? On the, looks like the same shape, yeah.
Yeah, that would be Country Pond in Marcoux.
Recognize that anyway.
I don't know how to get rid of that thing.
So do you want to just proceed the old-fashioned way?
Yeah.
All right, for those who can hear us, we must apologize because we're dealing with a cable operator who is sick tonight. So we're trying to do it, basically Diane doing two roles. So as we know, the cable, offering the cable is not a RSA requirement. It's a convenience we offer, and the Zoom is the same thing. So we'll try to do it kind of the old-fashioned way with some Zoom input as well, but don't want to hold anything up because we are running late already. So we're going to start with sealing of non-public minutes. If
I'll make a motion to seal the non-public minutes under RSA. Move that the board just came out of non-public session under RSA 91-A:32, A, reputation, and C, compensation, and that they keep all matters discussed confidential until, in the opinion of the majority of the board, the circumstances no longer apply except to provide the bookkeeper and payroll administrator with the necessary information for payroll.
seconded by Charlie, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, B is the ARPA EOC update. Now, Joe, are you going to do that? Because I see Trish up on the screen as well. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Joe Simone, filling in for Trish from the ARPA committee, and so I'm here to give the ARPA update as well as the EOC update. As always, our meetings are open to the public, and the agendas are posted under the emergency management portion of our town website. Camera security update, we still have one more company that we're waiting for a quote on for the buildings, and as soon as that comes in, we will do an analysis for the board to look at via a spreadsheet and whatnot. So, secondly, the biofilters for the town hall and the library have been ordered, as was voted upon on 11/4, and we're waiting for delivery. The garage door opener of the Butler building was installed last week, and the electrical wiring to provide power to it was completed this afternoon, so that's another thing. In terms of the equipment for the police department, that was ordered and we're waiting for it. In terms of recreation department, Greenie Park, site walk was done by the road agent, and an engineer has been contacted, and we will have an update as we get the information for the Board of Selectmen. And the engineering for the transfer station will be scheduled later this month. We're still awaiting some clarification on the town website on the person who gave the information relative to the website, and we'll have more as that comes available. An EOC update. Trish wanted me to advise that COVID has not gone away because we have 7 new cases in the last 14 days, and we're also dealing with RSV. So she has asked residents who aren't feeling well to stay away from the town hall, and also advise that vehicle registrations can be done online. It's highly recommended. Other than that, that's all we have right now.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Any
Thank you, sir.
questions before? No? Did you have one, Mark?
Yes, Joe, if I could, to the board, to you, if I might add, just this one, just a follow-up question relative to, we're going to get an engineering analysis done over at Greenie Park with regard to a surface. I talked with the road agent about it, and also to Trish a number of times about it. Do we have an update on that?
To the mic.
An engineer has been contacted, from what I understand, we'll be getting an update.
Okay,
That's all I can tell you this one time.
okay.
So nobody heard you on Zoom, just so you know.
Yeah, it sounds like, but, to be fair, you did read it earlier. To answer Mark's question, Joe just answered it, is the only update he has is that they're engaging somebody right now. He doesn't have any further detail tonight, but hopefully we'll have something soon, so. All right. Okay, update, C is a follow-up to, I think it was maybe a month ago. We had a meeting and we discussed Pond Street and Marcoux Road to the railroad bridge. And what we did is we talked about in that meeting that we would put together a site walk with the town engineer. A couple of the members of the board, Selectman Melvin and Selectman Conley, went, and we also had residents, I believe, might have been a couple of residents. So what I wanted to do is we do have a report from the town engineer, and I would like to attach that to the minutes tonight, if that works for everybody. But I'm wondering, do we want to, maybe Mark, if you can read it?
Sure, I can summarize it if
Or summarize it,
or if whatever's
perfect,
good for
yeah.
you, for the board.
Yeah.
I also want to recognize Selectman Marchand for, each of the selectmen should be complimented for doing a fine job in getting out there and looking at the road, if you will. We conducted a road walk from Pond Street to Marcoux Road on the 14th, Friday the 14th, and the engineer for the town, Mike Vignali, wrote his report on October 18th, and I'll summarize it for the board and the audience here in the meeting hall, as well as those listening over the internet. So he wrote that recently the road was paved and the shoulders backfilled with recycled asphalt product. And you might recall it was that crazy rainy day. I know Charlie's umbrella broke, which that was kind of the pinnacle of the day. So we had to get through that hurdle. But basically, we walked the entire street. Selectman Connolly was there. And we found that many of the items that were proposed to be items for some type of remediation did not come true. Basically, there was some minor erosion on the shoulder of the road at the intersection of Heath Street due to recent rains that had taken place that prior evening and the steepness of the road surface. There was a stretch of road on Pond where there was a very large tree. Mike Vignali calls it about 24 inches wide or so, pine tree south, and directly across the street there was a utility pole. So it's a country road. There's not much you can do. You can't take the utility pole down, and we didn't have built into the budget for work that would include removing the tree. We took further walk, and there was a puddle at the south corner of Pond Street and Marcoux Road, and that was due to some excess material that had built up, if you will, over the shoulder of the road, so the water could not get into the existing swale that was there. And I believe that has been taken care of since that time. There was a puddle on the north high side of the intersection with Marcoux, and we're going to be watching it very carefully. I talked to Mike Vignali this afternoon just to recap the walk, and if you wanted to add anything to the report for tonight for the board and the listening audience. Basically what it comes down to is that a lot of the material needs to settle, and the road surface itself, as he sums it up in his report, basically that the pavement surface looked very good, and he found no cracking or other surface deficiencies that needed attention. There were some spots on the shoulder of the road that we're going to be watching carefully, but that pretty much is the summation of the report. that we took with the board, the Selectmen, and a resident, Anthony Levine, on Friday, the 14th of October.
All right, and as I read this memo, there doesn't seem to be any recommendations other than what you've just described. And you know, it really comes down to the funding aspect, which we've talked about before. We have many roads in town, right? Sometimes we take this approach, other times we do a full-on rebuild of the road. But I'm reading this memo, I'm not seeing any sort of plan of action that we need to move out on. Does everybody agree with me on that one on the board? You got something, Charlie?
Where Marcoux and Pond meet, there's a kind of a dip, a good-sized dip, and there really needs to be a catch basin there with a pipe going under that road. Other than that, it's gonna build up an awful lot of water, and there should be a big ice patch in there. Am I correct, Mike?
It's been there right along.
I know,
At some point in time, a drainage structure has to go in.
yeah,
What did the engineer have to say about that?
it's in the letter.
Yeah, no, we talked about that somewhere down the road, that is going to have to be addressed. But as he said, he's the engineer, he's the conservative, he's gonna give you everything that you need to do right away, but at the end of the day, it's what does the budget allow? And right now, the budget doesn't allow that. But at some point in time, especially if more development, if they need to widen the road, do anything, and I'll defer to Mike over here to talk technical, but something's gonna have to be done at that point.
I would just like to state in behalf of our road agent also that everything that's in this report is what our road agent basically said at the last meeting when he stood up at that podium and talked about this, just so that everybody out there is clear.
All right, anything else before we leave this subject? Anyone?
There's a hand up.
There's a hand up online. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Anthony Levin, as Charlie mentioned, the dip there is, so there's nothing that's going to be done about that or any recommendation that was made in the engineer's report, which would kind of surprise me.
I'm sorry, I didn't get the whole thing. Could
Sorry, you broke up, Anthony.
Yeah.
So the problem with the where Marcoux Road and Pond Street meet, did the engineer make any kind of a recommendation about what to do, or do we have any idea when something would be done about that? Because shortly it's going to be relatively dangerous to take turns and navigate that because of the amount of water that's there, and it's going to freeze. So I'd be surprised if he didn't mention that in the report.
Mr. Chairman, he did indicate,
Bullet down.
Yeah, I've got it now. Go ahead, Mark.
he did indicate that we should be watching very carefully some of the graded material on the south side of Marcoux Road, the intersection, and monitor the puddle near the pine tree, if that's what's being referenced here.
I think he's talking about a different area.
Okay,
So let me read from the bullet. Somebody tell me if I have the wrong bullet.
Yeah.
There was another puddle on the north high side of the intersection with Marcoux Road. This puddle was primarily on the existing pavement. The proper correction for this puddle is to install a culvert, possibly with a catch basin, to collect water from Pond Street, Marcoux Road prior to it flowing over Marcoux Road. Mr. Levin indicated that there was never a puddle there before and water used to flow across Pond Street. Now, Mike, you had said it's not in the memo, but he said, again, it was one of those things, keep an eye on it. It's something we might want to do in the future. Don't let me put
And
words
it's-
in your mouth.
And it's going to be based on budgets. Right. So this was all talked about down there, and again, that water, there's been water there before, so It's not like this just created it, there's water there before.
And I think, you know, since I've been on the board, we've done culverts before. There's probably culverts we need right now in town, right?
Probably dozens.
Right, it's always a case of,
Yeah.
of the priority. Did you want to add something, Mike?
Well, just to make sure, Charlie, you're talking the same spot Mike is. The engineer's talking the same area you two guys are.
Yeah.
That puddle is on an existing road surface. I didn't do anything to Marcoux. I did pond, and we married into pond. We changed no elevations there whatsoever. That puddle, and I've talked to the homeowner that lives right there at the house, that puddle's always been there. Do we have to get rid of it? Absolutely. Mike, you hit it nail on the head. It's budgetary.
Right.
That's all it comes down to.
Yep.
And just out of curiosity, I mean, average ballpark for a culvert to, because this is not an existing culvert we would fix. This would be adding a completely new culvert, right?
Yeah, it'd be a new culvert and a new drainage structure. Catch basin would go on there.
Yeah.
One, this isn't the time of year to do it, to cut up a road and pave,
Yeah,
so
no,
we're not even
yeah.
entertaining it right now.
Yeah.
Ballpark price, remove the asphalt, which we should do when we do more of a work scope on Marcoux, not just isolated to that one culvert. But if we were, you're probably talking $5,000, $5,500, something like that, off the top of my head.
Yeah. So as was stated earlier, we have a lot of culverts in town, a lot of culverts in need of repair. I think you've stated in these meetings before, the approach is paving first, and then the culverts based on the engineer telling you, because we did one probably 3 or 4 years ago, right? That was, if we didn't do it, we're gonna have a big problem, right? You know what I'm talking about? So I guess what I'm asking is, how do you prioritize these things?
Well, the level of failure is the first one.
Okay.
The hot topic right now that's been brewing for 4 or 5 years is the one on Wilders Grove Road.
Yeah.
That's considered a bridge because it's twin culverts. We've been red listed on that for probably 5 years. I did a temporary repair to it about this time last year. And we've got grant money that we're trying to get to repair that, depending on what DES approves and what the bridge division approves. I want to do away with them altogether, but it's a more complicated approval method to do that.
Okay.
But that's the big one right now. And there's a lot of secondary ones.
Okay.
So it's a matter of if we're looking to do this, prioritizing it, I think is what our answer is. And we can put it on the list, I guess, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense as far as the prioritization. If it comes down to the budget, you know, when we were doing the walkthrough, the concern there is that it's going to ice up. It's going to cause a dangerous situation for residents here. And if, as the road agent said, $5,500, I know the budget is later in the discussion, but is there going to be, you know, budget allocated to Marcoux Road in general, along with that culvert? When can we expect it to be remediated and paved and have a culvert there so that our road isn't as it is now, which is in pretty bad condition? Is it possible to use the unexpended fund with the town that, from the best of my understanding, is a little over $2 million to get this stuff done? I know it's not the right time of year at this point. We're into November as of today, but how do we resolve the ongoing situation where the road is deteriorating?
Yeah. I mean, it sounds to me like we have to keep an eye on this situation and see what develops, because and I'm no expert on the roads and stuff, but what I've gathered over the years is there's a lot we could do, and we could go into the unexpended fund balance, but as a lot of DRA folks would tell us, we want to be very careful about touching the unexpended fund balance, because I always call it like a rainy day fund, right? You never know when you're going to need that. I think for me, I'm one person up here. Anybody else can talk. For me, it's let's keep an eye on it and see how it keeps up over this year, and then decide how it's prioritized against everything else. And it's probably a long list of other things that might be in a more critical situation. But anybody else have a thought?
No, I think you kind of nailed it. The only thing I would say is the work is done. Let's take a look at how it performs this winter, and go from there. I think we need to not predict the future, but let's see what happens. Because we can't fix every road right now. It becomes part of the list that we have to attend.
Any thoughts from you guys?
Just that this is the first time we've been made aware of that ponding that's happening there. There's been other places that we've known for a while that we're trying to take care of. So we can't just jump on something because somebody throws it in our lap immediately when there are other more important things that are pending that might be a lot more dangerous. So we have to assess them with what monies that we have and what the townspeople, will approve when it comes time for the budget.
Yeah.
And that's probably the easiest and basic way we can say it. When the budget comes out, we'll see what's in there, we'll see what the townspeople approve and what they're willing to pay for, and then we'll be able to address all these situations, or some or all of them, depending on what we get in the budget.
Can I ask a
And
question,
that's
Mike?
the long and short of it.
Sorry, I apologize. That end of going in down there, right, that's done by the town, correct? That's not where that Marcoux Pond Street, that's town plowed, town sanded area.
Class 5 town maintenance.
So I should have used the word
Town
sanded,
maintained
right?
road.
Right.
Yeah, town maintained road.
So can you just make a note, like as whoever's doing that section, to keep an eye on it and let us know, just keep any updates, if there's icing, if you see icing, obviously throw extra sand down, but can you keep us abreast of that if they?
Yeah, I mean, we can do that. It's iced up every year for the past 15 years. I don't
Okay.
expect anything different this year.
All right,
But, I mean, we can look at it.
thank you, sir.
It's one of probably, and I'm gonna throw a dot at a dartboard, 40 places in town where we have icing up conditions. And I'd like to get to all 40,
No, I get it.
you know what I mean?
I got it.
Charlie, anything? You're good? All right, anything else before we move on to the next topics? All right. We are on to D, transfer station, and it sounds like we have a couple of things to discuss. Pete?
Evening, Board. Pete Gagnon, Transfer Station. One of the items, the trash compactor hoppers, I have no information as of yet. I'm waiting for Jason Mello to give me time frames of when this could be done, if they're going to do them both at the same time. So I'm just waiting on that.
But for the public, if you want to put out the figure that's there to be able to have them done.
So the current quote, and he did mention that the price of metal fluctuates almost daily.
Yep.
Right now, the quote is $14,835.
Pretty close.
And that's one of those things we can take from the capital reserve. Would that be the plan when we finally get the?
Now, one thing he did mention, I had it in my report to you guys, is they're willing to finance it for the town, so we don't have to do it in one lump sum. It could be over a period of years.
Yeah. So we're not looking to finalize this until you get,
Correct. I'm
The
hoping to have
official.
something by tomorrow.
all right, so ballpark here, we can have that for planning purposes.
Yep.
and then move forward so by the next meeting, we should be able to do that. Okay. So that was A. How about B, petty cash?
I got the email. I'm all for it, absolutely. I need change.
Could somebody give background on this just for the viewers who didn't get the email? We all got the email, but.
That I need $50 in cash to give out change at the transfer station.
Okay. So,
So do you want me to expound on that?
yeah, if you don't.
Okay, so what happens is people come in, they give them money for the bulk items, and they don't give him the correct amount. He cannot provide them change. It happened that they got an extra $3, I guess, because they couldn't provide the change for the person. That money has no place to go, basically. So if he's able to keep some petty cash, he can provide change to these people. So he'll keep it in small bills.
Okay, and we would balance that how often?
You can, once it's
Every night?
$50 probably, you can, whenever you want.
Yeah.
Do you get a lot of cash while you're open on a daily basis? Is there a lot of cash coming through?
Yeah. Weekends, there's a lot, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen it up over $1,000 in cash when I was the deputy treasurer. So yes, there's a lot of cash.
And I think we saw in the email, the current treasurer is in favor of this and everything, right?
She's the one that recommended it.
So you're just looking for the board to,
Absolutely.
And just so everybody knows that the money doesn't, we won't say where it goes, but it doesn't stay down there overnight.
No.
just so it
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
become a
offsite
target.
at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, anybody want to make a motion to this effect?
I'll make a motion that, it should be in here, right?
Yep, petty cash.
Proposed motions. Shoot. I make a motion that we move to allow the transfer station to keep $50 in petty cash account for the purpose of providing customers with change for the bulk item fees that are charged.
Anybody want a second?
Second.
All right, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Quick question, did you end up getting the,
No, I
for the
haven't.
fencing?
Still waiting.
Just so everybody's aware, Pete's been working with the fence company about getting that chain link fence, getting a new one put up so it will be secure around those chutes. Primarily, I think most of it is to the left chute and then where they put the open top roll-off box in, and that would be coming out of his budget money. But we're waiting to get that quote from the fence company. Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. All right, so we'd like to move on to the proposed budget portion of our meeting, the part of the meeting everybody waits for. All right, so A is listed as Highway Department, so. And just for those who,
It's under the highway, I was going to tell you to do the tree warden front one first because they're both in the same section, highway,
sure.
and it just happens to be the first sheet.
And for those who are joining us perhaps for the first time, what we're doing is we're looking at proposed budgets to then wrap up into the full proposed budget. So you'll probably hear a couple of questions and probably we'll accept it tonight, but we're not accepting the budget tonight. We're accepting the proposal to then look at down the road. So I pulled up, like Diane said, I have care of trees first. That's an
That's it.
easy one. Do you
Yeah.
want to just go with that one first?
Yeah, good evening, Board. Mike Pavero, Road Agent. Yeah, the tree care budget it's been this $3,000 for quite a while. I don't know how many years. We're leveling that, it's $3,000, we're not increasing it. Most of the time, if there's a tree issue, we cover it under highway. This is just its own budget. If there's a tree that's injured or distressed or something like that, we'll go use that money for that item. And I usually wait till the later part of the year. So I haven't expended anything in that yet. And if we can make it through the rest of the season. We might not expend anything out of that item, or that line item.
So this is an insurance policy, I guess you'd say.
Well, we have used most of it every year,
Yeah,
but this is just one of those years that, so far, nothing's
yeah,
snuck up on us, that's all.
okay.
So I'll make a motion that we move to accept the proposed 2023 tree warden budget for inclusion in the proposed 2023 town operating budget.
Second.
Seconded by Charlie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, turning the page, now it's the highway and streets. Want to give us an overview of,
Well, I'm gonna ask how you want me to attack this for you guys.
I guess what I always say is, you know, what are the major changes? We can kind of see it on the sheet, but
Yeah, I can break the major changes down.
yeah,
And that's, yeah, I wanted to know what you guys wanted to do, so we'll go with that approach. To start with, and just a quick summary, for 11 years, I didn't touch the highway budget. When I came in, it was 334, and right up to a few years ago, it stayed at 334. I think most of you guys were here as select board members. I started to prepare you guys for tonight probably 2 or 3 years ago. I said multiple times that the highway budget was underfunded. We were falling behind on maintenance, and with the increased cost of operation, it was gonna go up. So here we are. The bigger hits, and to summarize it so it can sink in, and we'll get to that at the end. This highway budget's going up 34%. My recommendation to the highway budget is 34%. The first one that took a hit was coal patch and gravel. That's a direct increase to material cost. That's gone up 20%. The next one is equipment, both summer and winter. Summer, not as much. That's gone up 19%. And that one's due to operating costs, mostly diesel. Winter, that's gone up significantly. And I'm going to kind of give you an overview, and we'll have to revisit this at another meeting when we reset the plow schedule rates for this upcoming year. So I went and did a survey of the surrounding towns, and bear with me because I gotta find it. Okay. So just our surrounding towns. Right now, Newton's pay scale for a pickup truck is $65 an hour. That's what we approved last year. The average surrounding town for the same truck is 81. For a 1-ton, our pay scale right now is $74 an hour. Surrounding average pay scale is 96. For a CDL plow sander, the average pay rate for that surrounding towns is $117. We're at 86. We are 31% lower than the average surrounding towns. Hence, it's the reason why I'm having a hard time getting plow drivers. Now, to add to that, state of Massachusetts is 35% understaffed this year. State of New Hampshire is 40% understaffed this year. So it's across the board, problem staffing for winter maintenance. And obviously, that's a public safety thing, so we can't play or goof around with that. So those rates are gonna have to go up.
And just so the people out there know, Mike, the quotes that you're putting out, that accounts for the driver and the truck, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, that's the cost for
Right.
the whole
The whole kit,
kit.
caboodle.
Correct.
how about the fuel?
Fuel's in it.
Fuel's in it?
Yeah.
Right.
But, and again, we'll talk about it when we do the plow rate schedule, that we'll do at another meeting. There'll still be an escalation clause
Right.
to capture that if it goes above a certain
Right.
cost. And right now, the diesel fuel price is what? $5.89 at the pumps right now?
Yeah, depending on where you're going roughly.
Yeah, but average.
Yeah.
You know, and keep in mind, and this is important, how I go through the budget. 2 years ago, in 2020, the average diesel cost was $2.55 a gallon. That's gone up 98% in 2 years. Direct, you know, highway departments, it's a direct real cost for fuel. So that's why those the equipment rental costs have gone up. The other thing I want to make sure that the board's aware that most, on an average, highway departments' budgets, about 50% went to maintenance. So whatever your total budget is, the average highway departments burn up that budget 50% on went to maintenance. So it's a large cost that you incur in the highway departments. The next one down that took a hit is paving. I'm proposing to bring that up from $55,000 to $100,000, which is an 81% increase. Part of that increase is a direct reflection of the material cost. Material cost has gone up 29% in this past year. So that means if and the other part of the increase is in paving, so I can do a little more paving every year. I try to keep it palatable. I really should bump that number up mathematically to try to gain more ground on deficient roadways. I should probably make that number 300. And that's, you know, just trying to catch up. So it's still under budgeted, but at least we're going in the direction where I can kind of make up some ground. That and the highway block grant is my big savings.
Right.
My big plus.
I know fuel costs are going up, and I don't remember, I can't remember the volume of petroleum that goes into making the pavement, but is that a high impact to this cost? Is the material itself?
Yeah.
So gravel itself?
Liquid asphalt is a petroleum-based material that goes into the...
The liquid is, but so isn't the repaving of a road, right? Isn't there a certain percentage of petroleum built into the gravel that you're dropping?
Yeah, that's the liquid asphalt.
That's liquid,
Yeah,
okay.
liquid asphalt is what goes into the
Okay.
mix, which is part of the, you know, the material that makes the asphalt.
So do you see that continuing to rise, or where do you see that
Yeah,
liquid
I
asphalt?
don't, I mean, I have no crystal ball, but looking at what's being fed to us, it looks like diesel costs are gonna, or fuel costs in general are gonna increase this winter.
Yeah, from everything that I've been hearing and seeing and what's going on in the Northeast, they are saying that along with liquid gas for the heating, that there's a huge shortage on diesel fuel in the Northeast, which is helping drive the cost up substantially and keeping it where it is right now. And with the demand and it can't being met, that's what's keeping those prices up there. And I don't see it going down from what everybody's talking about for a while.
No, they're speculating it's gonna go up. I hope they're wrong.
Yeah.
But the speculation is it's gonna increase. So, that was the asphalt number. Now salary number. Salary budget number right now is 75,000. I'm proposing to make it 100,000. The reason why I'm doing that is twofold. One, I need to give Ronnie, our only one highway employee, a bump in pay so that I can in turn bring a second guy in, CDL driver, because right now the pay matrix that we use for Ronnie's assistant is $14 an hour. There is no CDL drivers coming to the town of Newton for $14 an hour. The going rate right now for CDL drivers is 25 and north. So I have to increase Ronnie's salary, and then I bump the salary up there in order to try to get another, and I'm only talking a part-timer, 30-hour-a-week guy to work with Ronnie, not a full-timer.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've talked about it, I've mentioned to you, Ronnie working by himself is not a good
And I saw that he's back to work, and how's he doing? Because I understand that he did hurt himself.
He did, doing a emergency tree thing, but I think everything's fine. We're good.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the salary increase. And last but not least, and again, one I can't control, is the sand and salt item. And that's an enormous one. So in 2019, we were paying $46 a ton for salt delivered to the yard. It is now gone to $82 a ton. That's an 80% increase in 15, 16 months. I cannot not buy salt. And we're one of the few remaining towns that I actually cut the salt with sand. I do 2 to 1. We're gonna run out of that luxury soon. We just went to a recertification class for winter maintenance, and the environmental people were there. They do not like the sand on the roads. The sand actually, in their world, I don't agree, but in their world, that becomes a hazardous material because of the silica in it. So and surrounding towns are already gone to straight salt. And we can see the difference in the winter. If you go Crane Crossing Road, Smith Corner Road, or you go down New Boston Road, when you hit the abutting towns to us, they run pure salt. Their roads are black a lot faster than ours. But for now, because of budgetary reasons, I will continue to use the sand until they tell me you absolutely can't. They're already warning us we can't, and that's part of the MS4.
So what's the cost differential if you had to go everything to salt?
We're buying sand for $18 a ton, and we're buying salt for $82 a ton.
That's more, right?
No,
I'm joking.
no, yeah, it went up.
That's,
It
that's
wasn't
a lot.
cheaper.
That's a lot. That's a huge difference.
Lawyer, not mathematician.
exactly.
Yeah.
I am joking.
So those are the 5 or 6 major items on, and other than the salary one, and really that one, I can't say that we could overlook, because we really can't. The other one's a direct material costs in the past 2 years.
I mean, we've had this discussion in here many times, through not just talking about the highway department, but everything's going up. People are seeing it at home, right? Filling up the oil tank, the heating oil tank, and the gas tank, and all that stuff. So, I think, like you said earlier, you prepared us, whatever that was, 6 months ago.
Oh, 2 years ago.
Oh, is it that long
Oh,
ago?
yeah, no, I've been preparing you for this night for a couple of years.
I think the one 6 months ago was the one that really made me lose sleep, but we kind of have to prepare the town that this is kind of what we're up against as we're putting together these proposed budgets, so I hope we have a very mild winter, maybe, I can hope, right? Maybe a mild winter, and I don't know.
I mean, a mild winter would help, but the only line item that helps me with, which is a big line item, is really the salt and some of the winter equipment rental rates.
Yeah, so.
And you hit the nail on the head, and I have to jump on that. It's going to be up to the board and the town administrator to promote this to the town voters and residents in town. I mean, you really have to, and listen, time couldn't be any worse. The economy's not great, so you're going to start asking to increase a budget. But this is important.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move to accept the proposed 2023 budget for the highway and street for inclusion into the proposed 2023 town operating budget.
Seconded by Charlie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So thank you, and we'll be talking some more as we go down the road here.
Oh, I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, Pete, transfer station.
P. Gagnon Transfer Station.
Bless you.
So, stuff costs more for you as well, right?
Indeed. We always got the big couple. Disposal and hauling, those are the ones that are killing us. We got lucky this year with the recycling, actually. That has not cost us nearly as much. We're actually saving a little money there.
Well, that's
But,
nice.
Yeah.
So
There was something miswritten here. If you look under hazardous waste,
yeah, I just saw that.
yeah, it's supposed to be 1,500, not 15,000.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
That would have been an.
No, that's on
That was the one I just saw immediately. So.
and on me.
What is it? Off the top of the head, does anybody know what the current total is of the capital reserve fund? The solid waste disposal?
Give me a minute, I can look it up.
Thank you.
We don't have the October one yet, but we do have the September one.
Yeah.
Okay. You would think the trustee of the trust fund would have all this in his hands. Oh, sorry. You're off the hook.
Out of curiosity, advertising, what do we do for advertising? Is that just for the,
Mostly hazardous waste.
Day, yeah.
Ads for hiring and whatnot.
So right now, from September 30th, 2022, in the transfer station recycling fund, $249,650.
yeah, and I believe just a couple of years ago, that was quite a bit more, right?
Yes.
I mean, one of the things, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, is when I first came on the board, we used to do 1 year we'd do hazardous waste, right? And the next day you'd do the voucher, right, for the
Correct, yeah.
the truckload or whatever.
Yeah, we alternated.
And then we had a petitioned warrant article where the voters wanted to have that
Voucher.
the voucher every year, right? And that having the voucher every year, we've never really caught up to that. Correct?
Well,
Because-
not only that, I mean, you got the cost of the recycling, the money that was coming in. China shut down taking in their metals because they were getting a lot of dirty metals, and the cost for them having to separate the metal and the trash that was in with it, for those couple of years, the monies that was getting paid for aluminum and iron and all that was astronomical, copper. I mean, and then once China shut down and stopped importing it, the prices dropped significantly. Now they're having the influx of your plastics where it's only, what is it, not even 5% of what's being recyclable is usable. So that money has dropped where they were paying good money for it. And also the same thing as with cardboard. So the amount of money that was coming in that this town was collecting for those recyclable products, we're not getting that type of money on those
Exactly.
for the turnaround, which is why the huge significance to why we're not getting that into the budget the way this town used to.
And I mean, what it comes down to is before the inflation, the historic inflation, we had problems. And now inflation with, obviously gas costs more, so trucking this stuff out costs more.
Yeah.
So I hate to be the messenger of doom and gloom here in the last 10 or 15 minutes, but this is also going to be something to watch for in these budgets that we propose because stuff costs more. It costs us more to get rid of our trash, quite frankly.
So I adjusted it to 1,500, the hazardous waste item, and it comes down to 80, the variance, budget variance would be $83,810, or 22.52% increase.
Okay.
Diane, you want to give them numbers again? 80,000?
$83,810 is the variance. I'll update your books with this.
The total variance.
Yeah.
Any questions? I think some of the stuff we talked about earlier is going to help with cost too, right? But
So one thing to note too is that 2023 is your hazardous waste.
yeah.
So
So I will make a motion that we move to accept proposed 2023 budget for the town transfer station for inclusion into the proposed 2023 town operating budget.
Seconded by Charlie. Any discussion? All in favor? All right, thank you, Pete.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
And we're going to move right on down the agenda to financial administration. So Kim,
Kim Hughes, bookkeeper. The financial administration budget has a few different offices, I guess you could call it. It's got the bookkeeper's office, the treasurer's office, as well as the trustees of trust funds. So I will start, and then we have some oddball things. Auditing is going up a little bit. I don't have a secure figure from our auditors yet, but she recommended that we plan on a 10% increase over what was budgeted for last year. And I did want to mention, though, that with billing to date, they have written off as a courtesy close to $5,000. And she did make it known that the company was not going to be doing that moving forward because they do that for several communities and it's not cost effective for them at this time. The other, so I'm looking at $22,295 for the audit for 2022. And we are mandated by law to have the valuation done of the Gatsby 75, and we've already got that in motion. You signed the MOU, and I've contacted Jefferson Solutions, and Mark's aware that we're kind of moving forward with that. And that was $2,750, so that makes up the $25,000 and some change. So there is a little bit of increase there. The valuation that we do is only every 2 years, so next year that cost will, not next year, but 2024, that cost should be reduced. As far as the Avatar support, typically we get their prices for 2023 mid-November. And what Avatar support is it's a software system for the tax collector, the assessor's office, the building inspector department, and I'm not sure, I don't think there's anybody else. Again, I don't have figures on that, so I just plugged in what they proposed for this year. But when we get the new figures, I can update that. IT consultant support, that is the support service for the software for the accounting for the bookkeeper's office. And they're increasing by 10%, so I added that into the current figure this year, which will bring it up to about $960 for next year. Office supplies, that's for the treasurer and myself, or the bookkeeper's office. The treasurer requests an amount of $200, and the bookkeeper's office, we're in need of checks and envelopes. That's every 2-year purchase, and this year we didn't purchase any, getting low on stock. I went out for a quote, I've got the quote, and I included that into the office supply budget. Again, this is an every 2-year cycle. Let's see, payroll is ADP, and effective October 2023, their rates go up 1.5%. So I just included just a little bit of an increase there to accommodate that for October, November, and December of next year. Let's see. Postage went down. I've got plenty of postage on hand. Postage is going up, I believe, to 63 cents the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Administration for the salary, that went down a little bit because there is no backup assistant to the bookkeeper at this time, so I didn't think that it was necessary to put in money for that. Salary for the deputy treasurer, the treasurer has asked that the deputy treasurer stipend per se be increased to $3,500. The last time this position got a raise was back in 2013. So it's been 9 years since that amount has increased. As far as the trustee of trust funds, due to the Warren article that the voters approved this past March, they now will be receiving $400 apiece for their stipend, and there are 3 trustees, so we calculated the $1,200 for next year for them. I realized today that there was a request for the removal of the $300 for the telephone for the trustees, so we're scratching that out. We're going to just lower the budget by $300. And training for the trustees, that was recommended that they increase it by $100. So basically, if you take out the $300, it's $115,276, which is the budget, which is a variance of $5,034 over this year.
I'm sorry, so for the telephone for the trustees in the budget, the line item was zeroed out for this year?
Yes, we're removing that.
You're removing it?
There was no telephone, there was nothing allocated for 2022 for telephone.
Right.
There was a discussion of perhaps to put in $300 for 2023.
Well, if we do that, then that's got to go to a town warrant, I believe. Once a line item is zeroed out, it cannot be just brought up and then put into, put on the budget according to, I could be wrong, but the training that I watched,
had.
when a line item gets it, and that's why they always say to
Put
leave
$1.
$1 in it, so that line item is there, so you can put money into it. Once a line item is zeroed out, a warrant will have to be done to do that.
But there wasn't anything in this year's budget for telephone. There was no
That's what I'm
line item.
saying.
There was
If
nothing.
it's zeroed out though, right?
It was never even an item in the budget.
So it needs to be
What
a
are you
warrant
saying?
article
Never
in order to
existed.
propose it.
It
So
never
if it,
existed.
so instead of thinking of being zeroed out, it never existed?
Never
So
existed.
it never got zeroed out?
Yeah.
But now we're adding $300. Do we need to go to warrant to add?
That's what I'm saying. So it still needs a warrant article.
No.
Yeah, I don't think so, but
I don't
Mark,
think so,
did
but-
you?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I believe this is a subsidiary account within the line item account.
That's what I thought,
So
yeah.
that designation, but Selectman Marchand is not wrong. We'll double check it, but I believe that because it's a sub-account within an account, that money can be moved around any which way you'd like, so long as it meets with the approval of the board.
Yeah, it's worth checking out.
I would check into
The
that.
definition, yeah.
Just to make sure.
I think since I've been around, we've done that quite a bit, but it's, let's get the exact definition so we know.
Yeah, the way they've been changing all these
Yeah, they do it all the time, so.
RSAs and everything else around about the budgeting.
We're doing it
All right. Any other
king thing at the end.
questions on
I do the king thing at the end.
town admin? You had a good lead, you had 2 departments lead off, so yours is so much smaller of an uptick, so. That's the way to do it, if you can do it that
That's
way,
it.
so. All right, anybody want to make a motion?
I will make a motion that we approve the financial administration proposed budget for the 2023 budget for the inclusion in the proposed 2023 town operating budget.
seconded by Charlie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And as far as assessing goes, do we have somebody to talk to that one?
Chairman, I can take that. So essentially what we have on the assessors is a level budget for their services for next year. And it will be Chris Murdo who will be handling that function for the town.
Okay. So same as last year.
Yes.
All right, any questions on this one? Anybody want to make a motion?
Which one is that one?
Assessing, so it's the very first one in the book.
Assessing. I will make a motion that we move to accept the proposed 2023 budget for assessing for inclusion in the proposed 2023 town operating budget.
Seconded by Charlie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and that concludes the proposed budgets for this meeting. Stay tuned to local listings for more to come next time. So we're moving on down now, kind of a nice segue. F is set the 2022 tax rate. And I think Mark's going to talk to this.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. So just to harken back, if I might, through you, Mr. Chairman, to the board and the listening audience, we started this process when we began, with the assessor's help, with the filing of the MS1, which is the total evaluation of the town. It was pretty consistent with the past several years. I went back and checked and wanted to make sure that was the case. We have, at this point in time, submitted all the proper forms to the State Department of Revenue Administration for the next facet of the process of building the budget. And that facet includes something called the MS 434, which are 7 categories of revenue that we track and we certify to the Department of Revenue, to the Revenue Administration, that they are in order moving forward. And they include, just to give you a snapshot from from some of your packet handouts, include all of the taxes that we have, that we take in as a town. They include licenses, permits, and fees. It includes state sources of revenue. It includes any changes in services or charges that we make. It includes miscellaneous revenue, and at the end of it, it totals it up. It has any inter-fund operating transfers that are made, if you will, for the year. So as we started to build this portion of the state forms that go into the Department of Revenue Administration's portal, they literally check every line. Before I go any further, I want to thank Kim. Did she leave? I want to thank Kim Hughes for her work and Diane's help on this, as well as the boards. So what happens at this next stage is really an important thing to be able to start to build the 2023 budget. So the revenues look pretty good at this juncture in time. And I can kind of give you a walkthrough. We have building permits are up a couple $1,000 to $6,000 on the form from $4,000 from last year. That's a good signal. The meals and rooms tax, we were all watching this with bated breath to try to understand the impact of this line as it relates to what was happening during the pandemic. And this line is up 16%. Literally went from $366,000 to over $425,000. We did pretty good across the board. What we do have to really think about tonight is the ability to, we're not in this process by ourselves. We're in this process with the school district, with the county tax rate that will be set, and the state education tax that gets assessed to us. We're kind of like the keeper of the funds. And then independently, they get dispersed back to individual places, and obviously the one that we're talking about here tonight is the tax rate for the next fiscal year. And we have seen, after we put everything in, all the forms submitted in the proper locations, a double check with Catherine D. Oliveira, who's our representative at the Department of Revenue Administration, and her staff. We have seen I would call it a modest increase in just the town's rate, if you will. It's going from $3.53 to $3.73. So it's going to be up 20 cents, and over from last year. That's about a 5.5% increase. We saw that the county tax rate increased by 10 cents, and that's not much. It went from 80 cents to 90 cents. The local education piece is really the crux of it. And I'm not telling you anything that you don't already know. And I know we have to work with our partners in the regional school district. Their increase went from $16.61. It's up by another $1.79. So it's a substantial increase as we look forward to trying to balance the entire equation. And then the last piece was that the state education tax went down by 50 cents. So it went from $1.75 to it's $1.25 at this particular juncture. So one of the things I think that's important to understand is that we can, as a town, really work hard, and I know the board has talked about this both individually and collectively, try to offset with additional revenue through grants, whether they be for roads or other programs, to try to build a budget for next year that's going to meet the needs of the town. And to the chairman's point and others who have talked about this, we are just in a very difficult spot with regards to what's happening with the national, regional, state economy as it relates to the overall budget. So at this particular point in time, and I put together a memo that identifies, with Diane's help, the tax rate for the town, which was set at $20.90 for last fiscal year, is looking to be set at this particular juncture at $22.49, which is $1.59 or a 7.6% increase in the total tax rate impact on the town. The good thing, when you harken back to the MS1 with regards to valuations, and people who are in the industry of residential real estate will tell you, in commercial as well, the rates are holding or have held, if you will. There could be some dip into the next year. That's yet to be seen. But at this particular juncture, the snapshot that the assessor gave us in terms of filing those estimates going forward for next year are holding pretty firm. So the tax rate, now, you can, in the worksheet that we sent to you, the question came up, how would you reduce this, if you could reduce this, by, say, $1? And how would you reduce this if you would want to reduce this by 50 cents? And that's what's on the table as well, because we could use some of the unassigned revenue that's part of the town's overall revenue picture to reduce the tax rate. I just wanted to paint the picture with the proper colors so that we understand what we're facing. We just received the school districts, regional school districts assessment, I think it was October 1st, Diane, for $1.2 million. We just got the county assessment for $533,000. So the money that we're going to be spending to cash flow through the end of the fiscal year to wind up with a positive balance is in play as we speak, because we have obviously commitments that need to be paid. So one has to think pretty judiciously whether you dip into the unassigned revenue that we have, which is $2,419,000. And you could lower the tax rate, but you have to do the same thing next year to keep that tax rate in place. So it's really a philosophical discussion for the board and for the town to come to grips with regards to where do you want to be in terms of the overall picture? We put everything that we could for all of our revenue from the 7 fields, including $11,707 that we got with regards to reimbursement for some of the pension costs that was in the governor's submittal that we heard back in September at the budget seminar with the New Hampshire Municipal Association. So with that being said, if you wanted to buy down the rate by $1, it would cost us out of our reserves $652,000. And if you wanted to buy it down by half a dollar, you're talking about half of that, which is $326,000. So it's a very very important decision to be made. The important part from where I sit to relay this to you and the listening public, last year we set the tax rate in early December. You don't want to be licking envelopes and stuffing envelopes and licking stamps in the month of December, in my opinion. What I would recommend is that we set the tax rate and start to get the tax bills out, work with Mary Jo and her team to get the bills out, try to take in as much as we can from a cash flow standpoint early as best we can. Would be about a month plus in terms of timing this time around that cycle. And that's a valuable piece of information to be working from. So that's the picture. That's where we are. I think it's important to understand that that unassigned reserve, it's a general kind of principle that you don't want to dip below 10% of using anything more than it's going to bring it down to below the 10 percentile, if you will. And the $652,000 $1 off would bring it below the 10 percentile. So it's really a risk, in my humble opinion, to you. If you wanted to work on the 50 cents, or even if you wanted to bring it down by 25 cents, we could take a look at doing that. But then once again, that's less that we would have in that unassigned balance that we might need in the future for something that the town is very much interested in doing.
So we have our menu items here. One is keep it as is. The other is the not recommended, which would be the $1 difference dipping below 10%. And the third one is the 50-cent option, which would keep us above 11.63%. So any thoughts as to what we want to do this year?
I'm thinking for right now, we need to go with the proposed budget.
You're saying not the
The
proposed,
proposed
but
rate of the
first one,
2249,
the
yeah.
full-on
Right.
rate, without buying it down,
Yeah,
essentially. is
because
what
we
we're
can
talking-
always try to do something afterwards,
Yeah.
like Mark talked about. But it's important as far as being able to get this out so we can get the revenue in to be able to pay our bills.
Mhm. What are you thinking, Charlie?
And there's no easy way to say it.
Yeah, there is no easy way to say it. Definitely gonna put us into a default budget, no matter
Could.
what we do.
It could. But paying the piper, I guess you'd say. Mike, what are your thoughts?
I think we have to move forward. I mean, it is what it is, right? Not that I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I think my thing is option 3. I'm leaning towards that one as trying to give people a little more to work with, you know. it is dipping into the fund balance. We've done it before. I don't think we've had to do it recently. I don't think we've done it the last 2 or 3 years.
So before you make a decision,
Yeah.
Mark,
Yes.
you did the figures. So let's say for a $300,000 home we used,
Yep.
what would they pay in taxes? 67 something?
I think it was like $6,700.
6,700, well, 67. So if you lower it, right, you're only talking maybe less than 100, I believe? Is that what we calculated?
Yes.
Yeah, actually, that's a good way to frame it, right?
Well, that's
Is-
what I was gonna say, yeah.
Yeah, feeling it in your pocketbook, I mean,
You got a cup of coffee
yeah.
nowadays.
It's
Yeah,
like,
right,
it's like trying to put a forest fire out throwing ice cubes on it.
Yeah, right. How big are the ice?
6747.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
So if you need to speak in the microphone. So
Joe,
yeah, one other thing to think about too is we've kept the rate, previous rate of $20.99 for a couple of years.
yeah.
So, I mean, this is kind of like a natural progression. If you take the money out of the unassigned fund balance,
Yeah,
it means you wouldn't be able to use it for something else that you might need to use it for.
yeah. Go ahead, Joe.
Do you have some proposals for, say, a $400,000 home and a $500,000 home?
It would be up in the $70, $80 range,
Yeah.
Joe. Just a general.
Yeah, so these are all good points. I mean, it's going to help a little bit, but it might be, I think what Diane's kind of saying is the progression has been such, you're going to eventually feel it. So, I don't know. It's not, I don't think anybody's happy about this at all, but
In answer to Joe's question, so for $400,000 home value at $22.49 would come out to about $8,996.
the difference being probably
$600.
$600.
And that's on $400,000 home?
$400,000. So your taxes will increase about $600. That's just the rough estimate.
Yeah, right. Oh,
Round
these
number
are all,
type things, people.
yeah, these are all
Quote me
rough
on that.
estimates. Yep. All right, but Bob was saying it earlier, Mark said it earlier. If we set it tonight, that's going to put us out front, which is a good thing. We're usually about a month after this, so.
So I'm gonna make a motion that we move to adopt the 2022 tax rate of $22.49 per 100,000, or per 1,000.
Anybody want a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
All right.
I don't think we're all on the same page, that's why I'm saying that.
Okay.
I think if we're gonna take the hit, we gotta take it now. So I'll leave it there, but I'm for it, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing that's really I'm looking at is, so if we were to use part of the fund balance, one option's off the table because DRA doesn't recommend it. If we did the
I
other
understood
one,
that. Yeah.
if we did the other one, we'd be in a position where we don't know what's going to happen next year. So we'd have to dip even more because the difference would be, a normal difference is now, even greater.
It
So now
becomes
we're
a
dipping.
domino
Exactly.
effect, and I agree with that.
Yeah, so,
Well, so far, without the police department coming in, and I heard theirs are gonna go up a couple of $100,000, we're looking at a $261,800
yeah,
right now.
yeah, it's not looking good. And it's worth mentioning, the school is a whole nother,
Well, that's a whole
Yeah.
nother animal.
We'll talk about that when we get to it.
exactly. Nobody in here can do anything about that, well, other than voting, but, so, All right, so we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All right, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I don't know.
You're a no? Okay.
At 2249, yeah, I don't know.
Okay, what's another option?
Take some money out of the unexpended fund balance.
So which option? The one we just talked about, the 50-cent one?
Yep. Or a dollar.
Yeah. Well, the dollar is not recommended. Yeah.
We'll have to discuss it, Matt's going with.
Okay, all right, no problem. Okay, so we have 3 and 1. So that one passes. So more to come on this, right?
Thank
So,
you, yeah, I'll keep you posted.
awesome.
Yeah, so what'll happen next is we'll do the tax rate, get it set. You'll get a, I think it's a tax warrant, they call it,
Yes.
that you'll have to come in and sign. And then the assessor and the tax collector can do their thing.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, impact fees letter to the school district. Speaking of the school district.
Mr. Chairman, through you to the board, if I might. So Diane was looking at the next mechanical part of the equation for setting the tax rate, which would be to inform the regional school district of what the impact fees collected would have been. And this letter is a standard letter that I believe the board has seen in the past, Diane? Is that
Yes.
correct? Yep.
Yep. So
Got it.
basically,
So I'll make a
already-
motion that we move to sign a letter to the school instructing them to apply the 2022 impact fees collected $12,047.52 to the town's portion of the high school bond payment.
Second.
Seconded by Charlie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we will sign that one. Notice to residents of the election. If you haven't heard, next Tuesday.
No, you have to actually read it.
Oh, that's right. It's one of those.
It's one of those
Yeah.
type of warrant things.
Remember those. So Mary Jo would be very disappointed in
Yes,
me
and
if
she's
I
still
didn't.
on.
I know. I see her.
So much for your Christmas gift.
She's watching me. Let me just find it here. There we go. Okay. To the inhabitants of the town of Newton in the county of Rockingham, New Hampshire, you are hereby notified to meet at Newton Fire Station 8D Merrimack Road on Tuesday, the 8th day of November 2022. The polls will be open between the hours of 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. to act upon the following subjects: to bring in your votes for governor, United States Senator, United States Representative in Congress, Executive Counselor, State Senator, State Representatives, and County Officers, to bring in your votes for a constitutional amendment question. Questions, plural. Given under our hands and sealed this first day of November in the year of our Lord 2022, and the Selectmen of Newton. So I would, I'll just make a motion to sign what I just read. Can I get a second? Seconded by Charlie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Okay. So moving right along. So if you didn't know, 8 to 8 next Tuesday. So with that, we have to have a quorum of selectmen.
I already took the day off. I'll be there.
Awesome. We know where Charlie will be. You'll have to go back and forth a little bit, right? So you'll be you'll be
3 times.
in 3 towns all at the same time. I don't know how you're going to do that, but
So can we count them then as part of the quorum?
we can when he's on the physical premises, but we can't guarantee that's going to be at the.
Finishing up in Newton.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That helps. So we've got you all day. Mike, what are your... So let's start with me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll do everything I can to fill around you.
I'm 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. is what I can do. As we know, we've talked about it before, we just need to know, because we can designate pro tems who can be our stand-in, so we have a quorum, so we just need to know that, so we should, my advice is that we all round up a pro tem, so typically an election worker, somebody who can.
Well, I'll hang there from 8 to 8, and then I'll get a pro tem that'll be able to stay and sign.
Awesome. The good news is, I believe Mary Jo can back me up on this, we don't have to do all those metrics that we did in September, I believe. She just came off mute.
You have to do some of the over-under things.
Yep.
Those votes. Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, yes, we do.
So it's not as bad as September, but it's still bad, I think is what you're
Yeah.
saying. So it will be kind
That
of a
was
late night.
so much fun. Count me in, Mary Jo, I'll be there.
Yes, you will.
All right, so we should be,
So
we should be
when
covered.
is Mike, when are you going to be there?
Exactly. You didn't get that memo? Gotta keep you on your toes. I will try to get there earlier, but I will be there by noontime for the remainder.
Okay,
But I will try, there's just some meetings I can't move.
okay.
Or you may see me get there earlier and then go to my car to take a call.
Yeah, that's
As long
fine.
as you're in the parking lot.
Is that all I have to do?
Yep,
Yeah, you're in the
Oh, I
parking
thought I had to be in the building. All right, so you may,
Yeah, you
all right,
could-
let me,
you could even
at
hit
least by
the,
noon, but I'll try to
you
get
could
there.
even hit the Wi-Fi if you need to.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we should be covered. Okay, donation to the food pantry. Anybody want to take that?
I'm
one?
going to make a move that per RSA 31:95-B to accept and expend $215 unanticipated funds for the food pantry from the Recreation Commission's trunk or treat proceeds from the food sales.
Second.
For discussion, thank you for all those, many in the room here tonight who helped us with that sale. It was a nice little, if you had kids, it's better than the kids just having nothing but sugar for the night. We were able to put some,
Oh, the
Put in
trunk or
them.
treat.
so.
That was fun. That was good.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. So we have, as talked about in 2 weeks ago, this is a form that Diane put together for us. It's a policy acknowledgement form that we would ask each employee to acknowledge that they've been given the latest of all our policies and they've signed to acknowledge it. And
That's
then
the
we can-
IT policy.
well, it's actually
right?
all of them. So I'll read it. I state your name, hereby confirm that I have received, read, or have had them read to me and understand the policies and procedures listed below. I understand that it is my responsibility to comply with these policies and procedures as a condition of my employment with the town of Newton. And they go on to list them, signed by the employee, signed by the supervisor. So this is a risk mitigation step.
So I will make a motion that we move to adopt the amended Town of New Hampshire Policy and Procedures Acknowledgement Form as written by the secretary.
Thank you.
I'll second it, and I have a question.
Sure.
Do elected officials have to sign this?
So I think the short answer is we do not, but I think we should. Yeah.
I've been asked
Yeah,
that already.
yeah. I think we should. So, all right.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah. All right. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And the IT policy update, town council provided a couple of recommended changes. They all seem to be very kind of benign changes. So does anybody want to?
I'll make a motion that we move to adopt as amended the Information Technology Resources Policy as amended.
Second.
Seconded by Charlie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. Moving right along. Other business.
Impact fees, is that on other business?
No,
Yeah, I don't have it on
we
here.
already did that. I think we did that.
Yeah, I think we did the
Yeah.
impact fees, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the letter, impact fees letter to school district we did.
Oh, okay.
So, other business, Joe Simone.
Good evening, Joe Simone, resident. Just want to say that I think the town had a very successful Halloween celebration. Haven't heard of any really bad instances, although we did have a couple speeding people in Quaker Grove, but unfortunately, you're going to have that. But I think it was very safe, very family-orientated, and it showed a lot of family values. One thing I would like to see for next year, I would like to see that the notices be put in the Carriagetown News, because there was nothing about it in the newspaper. Several people comment to me as to why there was anything in the newspaper about it.
Yeah, a couple, you know,
Future reference.
a couple of people were saying that online, and I saw it in the Union Leader, I saw it in the Eagle Tribune, and I saw it on the WMUR page.
Everybody in town gets
I know.
Yeah. So,
Hey, Joe, just for a quick note for you, Tricia did a great job last meeting impersonating you during the session.
Yeah.
You got to compliment her. Great job.
we actually took a vote that she would become your permanent
Yes.
replacement, but it was tied 2-2. I won't tell you which ones.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, cool. So, other business, anything else? Mark, do you have something?
Mr. Chairman, just the item that we had talked earlier with regard to the bookkeeper, payroll coordinator, administrator, excuse me. I'd like to be able to move ahead with that action plan, if possible.
Yeah, I guess we should state that, well, first thing is we should probably make a motion to the effect. We did receive yesterday afternoon, our bookkeeper announced her resignation effective 12/31/2022. So as is the custom, I would entertain a motion to
I
accept
will
that.
make a motion that we accept Kim, the bookkeeper's letter of resignation, which will commence at the end of this year.
Anybody want a second?
With thanks and gratitude.
Yeah, well, I was going to
Yeah.
add that, but anybody
I
want a
will
second?
reluctantly second that.
All right, reluctant seconds are okay. Yeah, so with a lot of thanks and gratitude, I think is add to that
Yep, with her
motion.
dedication
I
and,
think we all agree that it's a big loss,
Yep.
and but we will soldier on. So let me just take the formality. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No,
And Charlie's a no. We did some research and we found out if we all voted no, she was still going to leave. So
Yep.
that's how that goes. So given that, Mark has, do you want to just give a brief synopsis? You have a plan as to,
First of all, I'm brokenhearted as well. I just want to say that for the record. She's the consummate professional that you would want in that position, and I totally respect her for her decision. But we need to move forward with replacement, and these days transition is important. So I have drafted a proposal for a job description, and that including in that proposal, recommending that Municipal Resources, Inc. assist the town. I'll work closely with them if it's a pleasure of the board to find appropriate candidates that we can interview to replace the bookkeeper payroll administrator.
so with that being said, I'm gonna make a motion that we allow the town administrator to incorporate the help of MRI in the search for a new town clerk.
Town payroll
Payroll, I mean,
Yep.
bookkeeper.
MJ, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
just so you know.
Second.
What did he say about the Christmas list? That's like, all right. So,
I'm
all
not
right, so
getting a Christmas card
have
from
a-
MJ now.
do you have a second for discussion? Joe, do you want to come up? Yeah.
I do have a question. Is this position going to be part-time, full-time, permanent part-time? How many hours and whatnot? And are we to the point where we need to have a full-time person in that position? I'm just asking a question.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I
Go
might,
ahead. Yeah.
thank you, to you, to the board, and the listening audience. Joe makes a good point. I think what we need to do is have some flexibility and resiliency here. It is a 30 to 35-hour position. We did some quick analysis of surrounding towns that are looking for the same type of quality individual as Kim Hughes. And so we kind of know the price range. Might be something I need to come back to the board when we get to the final stages of interviews to indicate what direction we need to go in order to secure the right individual, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah. It's all, tell me if you've heard this one before, it's a competitive market, so we need to be competitive with the market, and that might be, everything you just listed might be part of the discussion. All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Were you an aye? You don't want to be an aye. None of us want to be an aye, but,
We're all in the state of grieving,
right,
but
right.
I'll go aye on that.
All right. So that was unanimous.
Thank you, Selectman.
Thanks. Okay. So we are on to manifests.
I'll do the manifest.
Thank you.
Move to sign vendor manifest dated November 1st, 2022 in the amount of $1,401,416.34, of which $1,225,661 goes towards the November Sanborn Regional School District payment.
second.
Seconded by Bob. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Move to sign cable revolving fund vendor manifest dated November 1st, 2022 in the amount of $1,371.17.
Second.
Seconded by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Move to sign highway revolving fund vendor manifest dated November 1st, 2022 in the amount of $93,178.93.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Move to sign the ARPA vendor manifest dated November 1st, 2022 in the amount of $6,132.73.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move to sign the payroll manifest for a pay period October 9th, 22 to 2022 with a pay date of October 27th, 2022. Total payroll is $57,710.54, which includes $424.78 ARPA administrative costs.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, requisitions. Move to sign requisition TH 2022-01 in the amount of $3,235 for electrical work needed at the town hall. Funds to come from the town buildings capital reserve fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
To sign requisition 1052FD in the amount of $236 to replace 2 security monitors at the fire rescue stations. Funds to come from the cable revolving fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move to sign requisition ARPA 2022-020 in the amount of $29,973 to install a new generator at the transfer stations. Funds to come from the ARPA fund.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Move to accept the non-public and public meeting minutes dated October 18th, 2022 as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any non-public session minutes for unsealing? How about announcements? I think the you guys have sent out the Veterans Day stuff already? Yeah, so if you're a veteran and we have your info on file, we've sent you an invitation to our ceremony on a week from Friday. And if you did not get an invitation, you are a veteran, we invite you to still come. And I think about 10:30, what do we say, 10:30?
That's a good, yeah, I think it was around 10:30, yes.
Yeah, so 10:30, arrival at the fire station, coffee and pastry. And then we'll have the ceremony with some music, hopefully from the Sanborn band, if that all works out. And we should have a nice ceremony. And any other announcements? We already did the election, that's the most important one. So.
Yep.
All right. Anybody want to make a motion to
I'll make a
adjourn?
motion that we close the meeting at 8:54. Let me make sure.
Second.
8:53.
All right. Do you still